Gak bisa bayar taksi di Malaysia. Di Indonesia, pin ketiga kali kan ATM kita keblokir gitu. Karena dia bener-bener baik banget, bahkan sama orang asing nih ya.
One of the best things that I do really like about Malaysian people, once they know that I'm Egyptian,
Malaysia is one of the best countries in the world for that.
Oh hai, oh halo, hai teman-teman, apa kabar kalian? Jumpa lagi di channel Sari. Semoga kalian dalam keadaan baik-baik saja dimanapun kalian berada ya. Video kali ini Sari dah kumpulkan beberapa video pengalaman orang. Ini langsung dengan orang Malaysia. Ada bermacam-macam pengalaman yang dirasakan setiap orang kan. Pun Sari juga pengalaman yang dah Sari rasakan. Mereka rasa macam jatuh hati gitu ya dengan Malaysia dan orang-orangnya. Video pertama ini adalah seorang guru Indonesia, tapi Sari lihat dia mengajar di Thailand. Jumpa dengan orang Malaysia yang sangat baik hati. Oke, seperti apa kisahnya, perjalanannya? Kita tengok video ini ya. Jom.
Gak bisa bayar taksi di Malaysia. Kok bisa sih? Jadi ceritanya itu aku turun di suatu tempat, aku pesen taksi ke hotel aku guys. Itu jaraknya sekitar 30 menit dan aku harus bayar 40 ringgit. Dan pada waktu itu emang aku gak bawa duit cash sama sekali ya, kecuali dalam bentuk Thailand. Karena emang aku biasanya pakai kartu kan, jadi tinggal gesek ya udah duitnya keluar ya udah beres. Nah pada saat hampir mau sampai nih ya, ini kan aku mau gesek kartu. Aku udah coba lebih dari 3 kali, itu pin aku salah guys. Biasanya kalau di Indonesia pin ketiga kali kan ATM kita keblokir gitu loh. Dan ini udah aku coba sampai 5 kali bahkan sampai 6 kali. Terus gue panik kan, saya aduh gimana nih, aduh mana gue nggak bawa duit cash lagi, adanya ATM, mana ATM busuk lagi, mau transfer pun nggak bisa karena dia kan pakai ringgit, sementara bank di aku tuh available-nya cuma dolar, terus Singapura sama Euro apa gitu. Dan di situ kita muter-muter cari ATM lain dan nggak ketemu gitu guys. Apalagi itu udah makan waktu hampir 15 menit. Gue juga mikir dong, waduh gimana nih bensinnya tekor nih gara-gara gue anjir. Terus akhirnya aku bilang, aduh gimana nih mister, aku gak ada duit nih, ini ATM aku lagi kayak gini nih, gak bisa nih gangguan. Aku adanya duit tapi Thailand gimana. Dan untungnya dia bener-bener baik banget. Ya udah deh, kamu kasih aku aja uang Thailand, nanti aku tukar sendiri, dia bilang gitu. Tapi setelah aku hitung-hitung ya, seharusnya kan aku bayarnya itu 300 baht ya kalau dalam bentuk Thailand. Dan itu gue gak punya say. Dan di dompet gue itu cuman ada 190 baht, dimana itu masih kurang 110 baht besti. Mampus dah gila. Nah akhirnya kita diem tuh di suatu tempat, kayak bingung, sama-sama bingung nih ya cari solusi kayak mana gitu. Dia udah jalan-jalan gak dapat duit, malah takor bensin. Gue juga gak nyampe-nyampe ke hotel gitu kan. Akhirnya bapak ini bener-bener ngambil keputusan yang bijaksana banget gengs. Ya udah deh, uang yang kamu punya dalam bentuk Thailand kasihin ke aku sebagai bentuk jaminan. Besok kalau misalkan kamu pergi kantor, aku jemput. Jadi kamu bayar double buat sekarang sama besok, kayak gitu guys. Terus di situ gue bener-bener nggak bisa berkata-kata lagi karena dia bener-bener baik banget, bahkan sama orang asing nih ya. Aku kan orang asing ya, stranger gitu kan, ibaratnya dari luar Malaysia. Ya nggak bisa bayar tapi dia tetap bisa ngutangin, ya ampun. Dan di situ gue bener-bener terima kasih banget sama dia, dan dia bener-bener memaklumi banget. Akhirnya gue sampai hotel, akhirnya gue keluar lagi cari mall, nemu ATM, set tarik tunai, gue dapet duit, langsung gue WhatsApp bapaknya, bapak gue udah dapet duit bapak, terima kasih.
Kalian paham tak apa yang dibilang kakak ini? Oke, by the way, singkat cerita dia tak boleh bayar itu taksi karena dia pergi ATM, cut ATM tak boleh keluar uangnya. Tak tahu kenapa, mungkin mesinnya ada problem macam itu. Tapi dia tak punya uang cash. Tapi nasib baik driver taksi itu memaklumi dia dan boleh dia cakap hutang macam itu ya. Boleh percayalah. Nah, kamu bagi jaminannya berapa saja uang yang ada kamu. Nanti kalau udah ada baru kamu bayar balik. Bagi kepercayaan kakak ini, padahal boleh saja lah ya kan, ditinggal pergi saja tanpa membayar. Itu adalah contoh kecilnya juga ya, percaya. Kan kakak ini baik banget, padahal gue tuh orang stranger, orang asing, tapi dia tetap bagi kepercayaan.
Good job.
one of the best things that I do really like about Malaysian people, once they know that I'm Egyptian, that I'm not from this country, while I'm asking someone about hotel or about any place to stay, today I asked someone about that place and he ordered a Grab for me and he paid through the Grab without even asking me or without even telling me. And yesterday, someone else paid for me in the restaurant without telling me, like he knew that I'm Egyptian. So I like this about Malaysian people. They are very friendly. The hospitality here, 100%. Thank you so much for all good Malaysian people. I'm Sari. Follow and support me. Assalamualaikum.
Ini adalah contoh lainnya bagaimana orang Malaysia menganggap kita walaupun kita adalah bukan orang Malaysia, kita adalah orang asing lah ya teman-teman, pelancong asing juga, sangat friendly, bersahabat, ramah, menolong lagi. Memang itulah ya teman-teman sebenarnya yang ada di Malaysia. Sari pun banyak sekali ya daripada contoh kecil, contoh besar yang Sari rasakan. Itu kenapa selalu Sari berkatakan, bukan maksud Sari mau puji, tapi kalau ya yang dah datang ke Malaysia, apalagi macam Sari dah lumayan beberapa tahun di Malaysia ini, apa yang kita rasakan itu yang kita utarakan gitu. Jadi ada kesannya terhadap apa yang dibuat orang kepada kita ya. Egyptian ataupun orang Egypt, kalau di Indonesia cakap itu Mesir ya. Negara Mesir adalah negara tertua di dunia yang mayoritas penduduknya adalah beragama Islam, dan juga terdapat sungai terpanjang di dunia juga ya yang ada di sana. Oke teman-teman, ini ada lagi satu video yang Sari jumpai. Dia cakap di sini why we are moving to Malaysia ya mestinya. Oh teman-teman, apa yang dirasakannya, macam mana pengalaman dia dengan orang-orang Malaysia? Oh penasaran? Jom kita tengok video ini.
Not really sacrificing any quality of life living in Malaysia for a significantly improved cost of living. And that's one of the reasons I think it's probably where everyone should travel. Malaysia is one of the best countries in the world for that. We make it no secret, we think Malaysia is one of the best countries on the planet. You know, I seriously considering moving here. And yeah, we just want to talk about some of the things that we love about Malaysia. First thing we absolutely love about Malaysia is that it's not perfect. And I'm comparing this to Singapore, right? So you've got Singapore over here and you've got Malaysia up here. And we spent a bit of time in Singapore. And the thing with Singapore especially is, yes, it's a very nice country, but it's so sanitary. It's so like...
It's the same as Australia.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you're like taking
Australia
to Asia, and it's the same. We like the same, but we don't like the same, right?
And it's too sanitary. You really feel like you can't do a lot of things in Singapore because it's quite aggressive with the policing there and things like that. Malaysia's this like nice mix in the middle of it not being perfect. But you can go on a few more adventures and be a little bit more adventurous and do things that you maybe not necessarily feel comfortable doing in Singapore. Like for instance, we just went on an ATV tour around Penang, Balik Palau. Sorry, my Malaysian pronunciation is still working on it. But we just went on this tour, ATV tour, and we got the kids and we put them on the front. Now in Singapore or even in Australia, you wouldn't be allowed to do that, obviously.
They wouldn't be allowed to drive at all.
We took a calculated risk. The tour operators took a calculated risk, and we did it. And the boys had an absolutely amazing adventure. Remember Malaysia forever for that experience. We have a lot of those experiences in Malaysia, you know, probably more so than any other country we travel. And I think imperfection creates perfection in a way. So like the fact that it's a little bit imperfect, you know, look at this. There's mangoes literally growing on trees out the front here. And, you know, it's like little things like this that concreted in our memory is like, this is I'm going to remember these experiences we've had in this country. So Malaysia is really good because it's not too imperfect that it's like not livable for a foreigner or a tourist, but then it's not too perfect where you feel like you're getting on a little bit of the wild side and doing things that you would traditionally do in your home city. So Malaysia is a big tick in that aspect, really big tick. We got a kitty over here that's making a lot of noise, wants to be in the video. So the next thing we wanted to talk about, and why we absolutely love Malaysia, I know people talk about this a lot, and we've actually spoken about this a lot, but
in multiple videos.
Malaysians and the ethnic cultures that are within Malaysia, beautiful people, really are. And I'm not saying that, you know, for any other reason except the fact that like we've been around a lot, and I would say the Malaysians are some of the friendliest and nicest people we've met, and respectful. Respectful's a big one as well.
Yes.
You know, you go to a tourist area and you don't have people in your face trying to sell you things. Whereas you go to some other Southeast Asian countries and you understand why they do it. It's, you know, it's part...
They've got to make a living.
They've got to make a living. But because of the majority Muslim population and the big cultural diversity here in Malaysia, there's a lot more respect. And I love that. I love that about Malaysia.
Just yesterday, we had to borrow one of the staff members at Escape to do our ride. Our ride needed 4 people. I was told he was too heavy, so I needed someone else on the ride with the kids. We literally borrowed a staff member, and she was so happy and excited to do it with us that she was just there with a smile on her face that she could help us.
Speaking of
They
smiles, there's
enjoy
smiles everywhere
together.
here. You know, we've run into lots of people now and they're all just smiling and happy. And obviously, like every country in the world, there's problems, but for the most part, everyone's just happy to go with the flow. It's a relatively peaceful country too. Malaysians and Chinese and Indian and all the Malaysian
Damai,
people that
betul.
live in Malaysia, you're absolutely beautiful people, and I would recommend coming to this country for the people, if that's a thing. But yeah,
Yes.
the people here are amazing, and we've only had a positive experience. Maybe not so much the police, but everyone else. So the next reason we absolutely love Malaysia is the food,
Oh, yeah.
and I think that goes
Makanan
without
ya,
saying. I think,
betul.
Definitely goes without saying.
and I think in about
And we mentioned it so many times.
yeah, I think in about 4 videos we mentioned the food. Like I've said, I love my food. Food here is absolutely unreal. It's like
Tidak
nowhere
nyata.
else. You know, there's good food in a lot of countries. You know, Philippines has really good food, Vietnam. But because of the cultural mix in this country, food is just different. You can get like fusion meals between like Chinese Indian fusion and Malaysian Indian fusion.
One example, we drove past a restaurant yesterday and we're trying to describe it to our friends that we're talking to on the bus, and we read the sign and he literally did like 5 cuisines at one restaurant.
Wow.
And they're like, how does he do Indian yet local yet Western yet something else? And they just do, and they do it all well.
And the people that make this food take pride in the fact that they're in a country that is known for its food. So like there's a lot of heart and effort put into food. I've noticed this, and I don't know if you notice this, but like even if you get like Western takeaway like Burger King or A&W and stuff, just the fact that they put the burgers together properly. And
They always look nice.
yeah, they put effort into what they
I feel like Australia, you just go like this.
We've had some
and
shocking food in Australia. As much as Australia's food quality is impeccable, we have some of the best quality food in the world. The people that are serving it a lot of time, a lot to be desired, because there's no incentive to do it properly. Whereas here, you know, when you've got a whole country's reputation relying on your meal, that's how I feel like it's treated sometimes. And it's, you know, that makes the food really good here. And the other thing too is that because there's such a big diverse mix of people here and cultures, if I want to eat really spicy, I can. And then in the same place, if the kids in Pauline don't want to eat something that's spicy, they can get it in the same place. There's always a mix, and there's always a good mix of different types of food as well, which is awesome. So the next reason we really love Malaysia is that there's lots to do as a family. It's really a family destination, in my opinion. You've got countries all over Asia that have plenty of cool things to do, but Malaysia has a really, really good mix of super modern, super fun, high energy stuff like theme parks.
Crazy water slides, the biggest this, the biggest that. Yeah.
And if you just love
Semua ya.
nature, you got like places
Ada.
like Malacca,
Cameron Highlands.
Cameron Highlands in
Penang,
Ipoh.
Penang, like the rainforest is here.
All flavors of travel. If you just want to do adventurous stuff, there's plenty of that. Yeah.
Hiking everywhere.
Oh,
Everywhere
dia
you
orang ni
possibly
sangat
think of,
suka
you can go.
macam-macam ini ya.
Yep. And if you want to just lay back and relax, there's plenty of resorts and things like that, and just like Genting Highlands and things like that for like the touristy
The
stuff.
fun stuff.
So like I feel like that's a really good thing, is that like this is one of the best family destinations in the world, in my opinion, is
Macam
Malaysia. So another reason
keluarga
we
ya
really
di
like
sini.
Malaysia, and it's probably something you don't think about when you're traveling, is air quality. We have kids, and you know we don't want our kids sucking in really bad air because it's not good for them,
okay.
right? It's not good for us. Malaysia's air quality is some of the best in the world. As far as like Southeast Asia goes, it's one of the
terbaik
best
di dunia.
countries for air quality, and you really notice it. Like if you go to Manila, for instance, Metro Manila, you can barely breathe. And there's
Filipin
nothing
ya,
against
Malina.
Manila, it's just there's so many people. The air quality here is much like Australia. Fantastic air and nature in
Oh.
Australia, and the air quality here is somewhat similar. And that's a really big plus if you're traveling or you're going to live somewhere for an extended period of time, because you can get really sick from bad air. You know, when you got kids, you want to make sure that they're
Nanti
breathing
Sari pun ada
really good.
punya
About everyone when you
pengalaman
have
ini.
kids, you have to think about us and you have to think about them.
Yep. Malaysia's got some of the best air quality in Southeast Asia, and that's a big tick in our books. So this one is super important to us, and it's another reason we absolutely love Malaysia, and that's that the majority of people speak English.
Enough to have a conversation.
Oh, yes,
you know,
it's
they're not
true.
native English speakers, but you can get by in Malaysia really easily by knowing just a certain amount of, you know, they knowing basic terms and them knowing basic English. And that's
Yes,
a big
basic.
plus, especially for someone that comes from a native speaking country. You can go to countries like Vietnam and barely anyone speaks English, and it makes it incredibly difficult to get around. Because you know
okay.
the basics, but when you're asking questions about a place, that's where the conversation stops. Whereas we can have
Betul, betul.
conversations with people and kind of get the gist of what needs to happen, which is a massive plus. And Malaysia has the second highest English proficiency in Southeast Asia, and
Oh,
you can
kedua?
really see it. You can tell.
So anywhere
Is
from the grab
that
driver
true?
to the shop attendant to even the hawkers stalls where you wouldn't think they have a whole lot of English, but they actually have more.
More than what you expect.
Yep. I will say this though, very few people understand Australian English and understand how thick my accent
Australian
is.
Jimmy.
Australian accent. I get a lot of people that just give me blank stares. But that you just live with that. I don't think it's a problem with Malaysia. I just have to improve my English speaking because it's very fast and it's slur words.
Yeah, banyak cepat ya.
It's a very thick accent
I do,
as well.
yes.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, if we need to really say something, I get Pauline to say it. So there's a lot of you that may be watching this video that are just listening to Pauline and just ignoring me, which is fine. That's why we both talk on these videos. All right, so this is something that not a lot of people talk about, but it's really important to us, is that Malaysia makes a fantastic home base for the rest of Southeast Asia. You hear a lot about Singapore as a home base, but cost of living is really bad in Singapore and it's really bad to find accommodation. Kuala Lumpur is a really fantastic base to see the rest of Southeast Asia because flights are so cheap and living and being here is cheap. So you can get on a flight to Manila and it might cost you $100 Australian or
Betul.
300
Ini
ringgit.
betul,
Well,
ini
just an
betul.
example, we're flying from Penang back to Singapore, and I think the total for 4 of us was under 100 Australian.
So under 300 ringgit to fly from Penang to Singapore. Now, for context, for those people that are watching from Malaysia, that same flight distance in Australia is going to cost you 1,200 ringgit a person. So it's amazingly cheap to use KL as your home base to see it. And then you come back here, spend a month or two in Malaysia, get your bearings, get your rest back, revive, and then go and see Vietnam or go see Cambodia. Go and see these other countries. And that makes a massive difference in my opinion. So we touched on this when we were talking about our home base, but one of the massive perks and one of the things we absolutely love about Malaysia is that the cost of living is so good. Obviously, coming from Australia, just about anywhere is going to have a better cost of living than Australia, but really, we've spoken to a lot of expats and us as well from personal experience, and the cost of living here is so good.
So
So
much
good.
cheaper than
Yalah, bagi
Australia.
dia
So
orang
we're probably
juga.
spending for a month about half of what we were spending in Australia.
And we're living
Oh,
comfortably, you know, we're
wow.
living and we're seeing sights and doing it. If we were just staying here and just living our life, we could probably be spending a third of what we spend in Australia. The thing with Malaysia specifically over just about the rest of Southeast Asia is there's no reduction in quality of life for that cost of living in decrease. In some countries in Southeast Asia, yes, it's a lot cheaper to live, but then you also have to sacrifice a lot. In Malaysia, there's good internet, there's good health, there's good, there's good roads, the cars are readily available.
Betul.
English speaking, you're not really sacrificing any quality of life living in Malaysia for a significantly improved cost of living. And that's one of the reasons I think it's probably where everyone should travel, not just people from Australia, but I think as far as a country to come to visit and spend an extended period of time, Malaysia is one of the best countries in the world for that,
Setuju ni.
just
Yes,
for that
I
reason
agree
alone.
with
But
that.
then you've got all these other perks that we've just spoken about, which make a massive difference too. So we've saved the best for last. Now, to be fair, everything on this list has been an amazing and part of the reason we absolutely love Malaysia, but this is one of the things I love the most about Malaysia. And Malaysians, you probably take this for granted, honestly, but it's a massive thing for Australians because it's so hard to get this, and that is delivery of things.
Oh.
From postage to food to groceries, you can get everything at your door
And
within an hour.
Tin, angkat saja
you
ya.
don't realize how expensive this stuff is in other countries until you come to a country like Malaysia and you can get groceries delivered for less than $1.
Oh, we did a grocery shop and it was over 100 ringgits, like $30 to $40 Australian, and they delivered it for like 65 cents.
Foodpanda,
Unbelievable
Grab
how
car, ya.
efficient it is to have stuff delivered to you and how much
Grab
more we're
food.
getting done. And like you said, there's a lot of Malaysians that are watching this. Great country, by the way. Love your place. Go to Australia. That same food delivery will cost you,
About $15 and
so
take
what,
you,
45 ringgit.
and take you like 24 hours to get.
Yep. It's such a subtle thing, but it makes a massive difference to quality of life. And part of the reason we love Malaysia, honestly, like, I had camera gear delivered to me. So it was 3,000 ringgit worth of camera gear. And it got to me within 45 minutes. I couldn't get to it. And they just used Lala Move, whacked it in the back of a motorcycle. I had it in 45 minutes. Where else in the world does that happen? I don't know.
And they cost you like $15 and take you like a week.
yang paling menarik perhatian Sari tadi katanya cost of living ya, biaya hidup di Malaysia tadi katanya sangat terjangkau, affordable lah macam itu ya, boleh dicakap juga murah ya. Bukan hanya murah saja ya, di negara lain pun ada juga yang murah. Contohnya tadi katanya di Manila, di Vietnam ya, ini macam biaya internetnya murah tadi katanya, dan juga laju. Misalnya biaya hospital, berobat di sini juga cukup terjangkau. Balik itu semua punya kualitas yang tinggi. Nah itulah ya kan, bukan hanya cincai-cincai murah saja, tapi ya kalau mau berobat costnya tinggi dan mahal, tapi kualitasnya ada juga. Kalau mau apa-apa kena bayar dulu, kena uang dulu. Biarpun biaya hidup murah, tapi semua apa-apa kena bayar, parkir lah, kena apalah, itu pun menyusahkan juga kan. Nah ya memang seperti yang kita tahu juga, memang semua kebanyakan yang Sari lihat di sini orang datang ke sini banyak tujuannya, terutamanya adalah untuk makanan, kuliner dekat sini ya. Banyak macam-macam kuliner di Malaysia ini. Kenapa ramai orang-orang daripada luar negara mau datang ke Malaysia ini? Ya itulah tadi beberapa contohnya yang dirasakannya. Teman-teman, so itulah tadi pengalaman mereka yang dah tahu datang ke Malaysia, baru mereka merasakan sendiri bagaimana keadaan di sini. Again for watching, segini aja video kali ini. Kalau kalian suka, jangan lupa untuk klik tombol like-nya, komen, dan juga subscribe. See you on my next video. Misari, bye!